cloud. Got the little red dot there inside the cloud. We're recording to the cloud. So you can participate via Zoom, and I can get a list of participants here. But sometimes what I ask people to do if they participate on Zoom is to send me an email on the messenger in Canvas telling me that you participated on Zoom. It helps me out when I'm talking attendance and participation. Second thing is, I want you to stay in the same seats, assigned seats for the entire semester. And I got a seating chart here, and I got a list of names here. And are you guys in a place where you'd be comfortable and stuff? Okay, well, I'll take attendance and I'll record what I need to, and then I'll explain more. So, Christina. All right, so Christina, 1, 2, 3, 4 back. 22 by my count. And Wes, I got you down, and that's number 6. Mackenzie, and you're in 34. And I'm glad to see you back. Julia, oh, you're on Zoom. Yeah. And Kaylee is on Zoom too. Natalie. All right. Riley. Okay. Emily. Yeah. Good to see you back too. And you're in Ashleen. Is that how you say it? Ashlyn. Ashlyn. All right. And you're in 25. Ashlyn, I'll remember. Josh. Brandis. David. Here. And Reagan. I thought it had to be you because it's the last one. Okay, Reagan. And that would be 26. All right, very good. And so do I have any other people in here? No, just the 3. Okay, good. So we're doing art history, and this is kind of in sort of a hybrid class in a sense, in that it is art history and it is the introductory level to art history, but it's also like an art appreciation class too. For those of you not studying art and art history, it's in the humanities, the art section. So it kind of does 2 things, and I'll try to meet both of those expectations, both of those goals as we go through. And so we're going to look at, on the timeline, art since 1400, so about the last 600 years. And basically, we're going to start with European, and then American, and then after that, we'll go global towards the end of the course. A couple of other things. One is I'm going to ask you to write a paper, a short paper, 5 pages, and it'll be on an artwork from this time period and an artwork of your choice. And I just had a workshop with our adjunct professors across campus, and we discussed writing as a theme, as a development thing. I taught at Truman State University. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that school or not, but we have built in our curriculum by design classes called writing enhanced classes. We had a substitute class for English Comp 1, which many of you probably took in high school. But it was called Writing as Critical Thinking. And for our English 2 class, we had something called a Junior Interdisciplinary Seminar, which it too was writing enhanced and had writing enhanced courses sort of peppered in all of the disciplines. And so why would we do that? Because we'd like to make you work. We are slave drivers. We're punishers. You believe that? Good. Because we're not. Basically, there's a theory in higher education that's been here for a long, long time, as long as I've been teaching, and that is that writing skills are directly related to thinking skills. And if you learn how to write clearly, it will help you think clearly. And so that's a little different than speech, which a lot of times you can kind of do like I'm doing here, ad lib, going off the top of your head. Of course, I've done this enough that I can kind of get away with it. But clear writing, clear thinking. And so that's really the whole issue. So we're going to write a short paper. We're going to give me an idea of how well you write. I'll give you some tips. I'm not throwing you into the water without a life preserver, without some instructions on how to swim. But we'll do that. And that's going to be earlier in the semester. And later in the semester, I'm going to do something that we did last semester and the semester before that. And that is to give a narrated PowerPoint presentation. So some of you guys who were here, like Wes and Emily, you guys know, you guys did that already. And what that is actually putting together something that will come out as an MP4 video. It'll be something that you can post in YouTube if you like. I'll show you some examples because I've been getting some good examples of this. And if you ever want to have in your portfolio some kind of evidence that A, you know how to put something like this together, but you have the organizational skills, you have the presentation skills that a lot of employers, quite frankly, even in the arts, they're looking for. They're looking for people that know how to put something together, have PowerPoint, have narrative. Second thing, we'll do it in teams of 2, which will be evidence that you can work cooperatively with others. And the third thing is that we can all kind of teach each other a little something about the art that you like. That's going to be your choice, wherever you and your partner decide what to do. And it can be, I'll put this out front too to keep you thinking about it. Brandis, I got you. You can do it on the same thing the same subject of your written paper. So in some ways, you might actually, when you write your paper, be doing the groundwork for your narrated PowerPoint. And so anyway, I hope you enjoy it. I had some good ones last semester. Looking forward to that. So other than that, I want you to pay attention, attend class, Zoom, in person. I want you to ask questions when you have questions. I like questions. And we'll have quizzes periodically through the semester. And there'll be different kinds of questions, different aspects of different artworks. They will be open book, open source, and they will be, I'll give you a lot of time to take care of this. I did a lot of students who had been requesting extra time to do assignments. And I thought, why not just give everybody 2 or 3 days to do something? There's nothing wrong. And so that's kind of what will happen. I'll be talking a lot, showing you a lot of work. Hopefully, it'll be interesting. Any questions so far? Well, in that case, I put together this. This is a Canvas introduction. And I know you guys have used Canvas before, probably, but I just wanted to go through it briefly. So this is it. This is our class. 150, section 1, spring 22. And then I got all of these dots here. And these are the buttons, the links that you'll use the most in this class. And so I can't click on this because this is a screenshot, by the way. But syllabus, if I have announcements, they'll come in there. I didn't have anything to announce yet at this point. Assignments, I don't have any assignments for you. But that's where the quizzes, that's where the paper, and that's where the PowerPoint presentation will be. It'll be on assignments. So quizzes, I don't use that. I don't separate that out. So everything you need to do, you can find on assignments. Modules, that'll be a class by class posting of the material we cover in class on that particular day. This PowerPoint is on the module for today, 10/1/22. And so I got that PowerPoint and another PowerPoint. Grades. I put grades as soon as I grade things, they'll be listed in order. And media gallery. That's where I put the Zoom recordings. And so Those of you on Zoom today, you're watching it, you're good. I got some other people I haven't quite accounted for yet. And I'm hoping that they will go to the media gallery. What I do is record this on Zoom, take the Zoom recordings, put them on YouTube. And then once they're on my YouTube channel, I can link it back to Media Gallery. You don't have to go to YouTube. It just shows up like it's right there. I had to go through such lengths because I have accumulated many lectures. And can I gripe? Is it okay with you guys? I'll gripe. When we got the COVID, when we had to reconfigure how we do classes, when we started using online a lot more, and using Zoom a lot more, and all of this stuff, as you guys have been living through, they decided to increase the online presence of all of the classes, including the ones on campus. They did not consider that if they did that, they would not have enough storage space. I got through the first few weeks of Canvas and that wouldn't take any of my videos any longer. Space was full. They didn't have the server space. So since then, they've been working very hard to keep up with the technological needs, the digital infrastructure, if you will. But I still do it the old way, and I got the backup, and it's on YouTube. If you go to my channel, just put John Bohack in there. Bottom line, you can sift through about 120 videos, find the one that has today's date, or you can go to Canvas on the Media Gallery. And so here it is. This is, I got these kind of laid out syllabus, and you can get that right there. Hot link. Zoom, hopefully you won't have any problems with it. I know I got 3 people here that had known how to get to this. But this is where you find this Zoom link on Canvas. See, it's still the same course. And I'm showing you my page. What you would do is click this and join the meeting. But this is where you find it. And you see, I have these Zoom meetings set up for the entire semester. So I won't be leaving you guys without a Zoom link, which I had done before I learned how to use this stuff. And so this is what the Media Gallery will look like. This is from last semester, or last year, actually. And you can see it's 1 hour, 2 minutes, 46 seconds. And this is the chapter towards the end of the semester on Africa. And this is what it'll look like. Now, our Media Gallery will begin with today's, and then they move up the more recent ones on top. And look at this, Kaltura capture recording. That's one of those group presentations right here, group presentation by Abigail King. And so I put those on as well. And so that's what Media Gallery looks like. And that's basically it. That's what I need you to know. Any questions about what parts of Canvas we'll be using. Oh, I want to put out something here too. I almost forgot this. Let me see. Discussion. I think it's lower on this. Never mind. And so let me move to the other PowerPoint I have here for you. And let's open it up in Zoom. And you guys at home, just be patient with me. And slideshow from the beginning. And so, introduction. Hopefully give you an idea about what we'd like to do with this class and how I want to approach it. On the syllabus, there is a schedule. And I try to stick as close to the schedule as possible. Sometimes I get a little behind, but it has a chapter listed for the date. I want you to read that before you come to class. I'm thinking that if you read it, you will have a better idea what I'm talking about. And so that is on Canvas, on the syllabus, and trying to answer the big question. What is art history? Art history, also called art historiography, historical study of visual arts, being concerned with identifying, classifying, describing, evaluating, interpreting, and understanding the art products and historic development of the fields of painting, sculpture, architecture, the decorative arts, drawing, printmaking, photography, interior design, etc. That's quite a sentence. You notice that was like one sentence? A lot of commas, no, just one period after the etc. So can I ask you this? This is just for my own information, but how many of you guys are art students? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, good, thank you. Well, good. Does your studies going to include one of those fields that we talked about? Good. See, I got to add a couple of things. One is that the book kind of takes the textbook we have. By the way, talking about textbook, have you guys checked Red Shell? Do you have it? Is it ready for you? Good. The textbook kind of takes a more narrow approach to art history and does not particularly include all of these areas. I will say that up front. And that does bother me in kind of a way. And I think that a lot of times people read that they're between the lines that they're getting short shrift, excuse me, if they are in, say, interior design. We don't see that here. Decorative arts, you really got to slide it because there's not even a hot link to that one. But printmaking, photography, painting and sculpture, architecture, we'll hit those a lot. But that is the art history part. Now, I want to hear from you. Why do you think our textbook would exclude decorative arts and interior design and other kinds of things? There's some other areas that they're not even listed here. Like, for instance, I have a really good friend who is in fiber arts. And so a lot of the people in her crowd do quilt making and stuff, which is not not too big of a leap away from fashion design, where you would design clothing. So why isn't this stuff in the book? Wes, you had your hand up.
Well, I was touching, but
Oh,
no, I think maybe just because it's easier to find, like through like historical works of art, it's easier to find like paintings, sculptures, and stuff like that, and recreate them than it would be for like interior design and stuff like that, for them to redesign an entire room and stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I think you're onto something. You always have good answers. Right? Anybody else? Why? What's the holdup here? David?
That's my answer for why they don't include that stuff in the book is because there aren't like a lot of good examples of that, like in the past.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah. There's a lot to that. Yeah, good answer. You can offend the textbook writers. I'm not one of them. I didn't even pick this textbook out, so. But it is a standard art history text. It is kind of like the gold standard of art history text. It's a really good one. My colleagues who picked it out went with the most well-known, Gardner's Art Through the Ages. It's been big for decades. Well, I don't really have the answer to the question I just asked. That's why I never went to law school, because lawyers are supposed to know the answer to the questions that they ask. Well, not so much. But I do have some theories, and I've been looking at art history for a long time, for about 40 years now. Wait, no, I didn't start when I was 2 years old. I started when 40 years, 40 something. At any rate, never have I had a class that covered some of those fields. But I've been at this long enough to kind of know the lay of the land. I've watched art history change over time. And this Gardner's Art Through the Ages, one of the classic standard texts in art history. When I went to graduate school in the 1980s, oh my God, I could be your grandfather. Or I gotta get off it. No. Bottom line is that I went to graduate school at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. An excellent school and a place where a lot of research gets done. And it doesn't matter what field you're talking about. You're talking about COVID vaccines and stuff like that. Every once in a while, I see somebody from Madison come on the TV. You're talking about space exploration. You're talking about art history, which doesn't come up very often, but they have a pretty scholarly bunch there too. I've been really proud and happy that I went there. And one of the courses I took in graduate school 35 years ago was women in art. And we'll look at Gardner's art through the ages. And as we get closer to the present, we will find women more well represented. But in 1987 or so, when I took this class, they had one of these big encyclopedic volumes called Jansen's Art History, which is sort of the rivals, kind of like the difference between Surface Pro and iPad. You know, they're both there, they're both big. At any rate, in art history, the two big main texts, there were only 6 women represented in Jansen's art history. What is 35 years ago? And why was that? Well, you could say women didn't make art. But my researchers, the people I got to know, they found out that wasn't true. And what they found out was that there was a deliberate, premeditated bias against women in art. Amazing. And likewise, this narrow track of art history has been kind of discriminatory ever since its inception. Ever since there was art history, it's been discriminatory, and it's kind of cut out a lot of things. And in some ways, they've cut out things like graphic arts. How many of you guys love graphic arts? I know you do. Yes, yes. And we talk about that sometimes in here, especially when we were looking at ancient art, we kind of got an idea where a lot of these themes originated. And when you see things like superheroes, that comes right out of antiquity. It comes out of myths and art from thousands of years ago. And when you have them, I love talking about this. That was the art of the era. I love to go dig into Egyptian art, for example. And Egyptian art has a number of characters that are half human and half animal. The Anubis, the guardian of the tombs, the guardians of the pharaoh. From the neck down, they're strong, muscular men. From the neck up, they are wolves, jackals, some kind of canines. Whoa, how about the hybrid between, look, just look around, all the superheroes. A lot of times they carry characteristics from other places, other species. Spider-Man, for example, he can shoot a web better than any tarantula you've ever seen. Boom. So anyway, they're still kind of cutting a lot of this stuff out, but they have been making progress along with women not being represented and particular art forms not represented. Minority people have not been represented as well either. And one thing we know is that in human history, all people, men, women, every color, every geographic location, everywhere it's part of humanity, is that they make art. That's what we do. for people. So anyway, I'm not sure exactly why all of these are still cut out. And maybe they don't have good examples. I know some of my friends are developing courses that include some of those areas, which I think is kind of cool. And the Women in Art class that I talked about was one of those classes. It wasn't part of the canon, the encyclopedic volume of art history. It was what they were digging up, what they were finding. And when we get into really kind of starting slowly, but as we build up towards present, I'll try to keep in mind how these women artists and artists of color and some of these other areas started to get more recognition, how they've come to be part of this. We're not there yet. And what I want to say too is that I myself do not have anything against graphic novels, fashion design, interior design, all of that stuff. It's art. I'm not a snob that way. But I'll end this thought with this. I had a friend. He's still my friend. He just lives he's retired and he's in Nashville, North Carolina. But his theory is that the kind of stuff that we look at that's in Gardner's Art Through the Ages and what's in the art museums, that reflects the pure science, if I can use science as an analogy. And it reflects the research and the theoretical science that's going on at any one time. And then this other stuff, interior design, fashion design, graphic novels, and all of these other areas of art draw from that theoretical science. Do you follow me with that? And so when a lot of these artists, when we get close to the 20th century, you see that they have like a canvas of just nothing but red. You say, that's kind of dumb. There's something about that artist, and there's something about the theory behind that artwork that somebody in interior design will look at it and say, I can apply this. I can apply this in my interior design or my fashion design or my graphic novels. And I just mentioned a good example of somebody like Stan Lee, master of graphic novels, looked to ancient art history for inspiration. And so that these other areas, interior design, fashion design, graphic novels, are more like technology. It's the application of the theoretical science. At one time, computer chips, silicon, as a way of moving electricity around was a theory. The application was computers. It was like, as they say, people like Bill Gates. He didn't invent this stuff, but he knew how to apply this. He said, if we can make these chips really small, we can make an iPhone. We could connect with satellites. We could do all kinds of things. That was his genius. He was a technological genius. He wasn't a guy in the lab figuring out how to better etch silicone to accommodate something. But he was right there. He understood what they were doing. And so anyway, I thought about that analogy much. And I think that's probably as close to an explanation that I've ever heard. And so it does explain another aspect of this. Those of you guys who are in interior design, graphic arts, making graphic novels, computer games, game design, stuff like that. What we're talking about here is the research, the theory that you can apply. You can take right from this. This is the science book, if you will, the theoretical art. And so that's how we roll. I got a couple of other points I want to make. One of the things it's like this was said here about identifying, classifying, describing it. And so here is kind of the basic bottom line on information. And I got to say this, there are a number of people who teach art history that really don't get beyond these 4 bullet points. They want you to recognize the artwork and be able to tell who did it, when they did it, where they did it, and what did they use to make it. That was the art history that I had as an undergraduate. And we did flashcards, and we had to remember Starry Night, Vincent van Gogh, 1889, oil paint, France. Whoa, I got that one down. Only 100 more to go. Bottom line is that that's still kind of important, but it's important in a different sense today. It's important because these end up being the keywords for your searches. And so it shows you how much data, learning, and information has changed since I've been doing this. But we still like you to know this stuff. Because if you know that, you can get to almost anything else you need to know about the artwork. And so identification. And then I want to do this. I forgot to do this. I guess I do have it. Just saying. I know enable editing. Can I do that? Yes, I can. Good. Just checking. Pick a favorite. Do you guys have any favorite artworks? I'm just going to write it down. And it doesn't have to be something from the book. So if it's Spider-Man, I can do that. My grandson loves Spider-Man. My daughter dresses him up in Spider-Man stuff. Anybody got a favorite? And I'm not great in this, but I got some points I want to make.
I've never really like sat back and tried to think of like my favorite piece of art, so I don't know.
Okay, well, that's fine. David,
Is it possible to list down a favorite artist?
yeah, we can do that.
I just need to remember my favorite artist.
Okay. I remember Kaylee Riley. Riley, okay, good.
I like the doll.
Oh. Any particular one?
The
Ballerinas?
his little dancer sculpture.
Yeah. Is the one that's at the art museum? Whoa.
My mom likes that one too. That's why I like it.
Yeah, I like that. Dave,
Okay, so the artist I chose is Yoshi.
Okay, gotta spell that for me.
Y-T-A-T-A.
DATA.
No, it's all together.
Oh,
A-K. And then Amano is the last.
AMANO,
Yes.
good.
An artist that I've been kind of following recently, he's not like, art history or anything like that, but he was a YouTuber I used to watch, and now he's kind of going into like kind of more like abstract art, whatever, and I really enjoyed his art.
And so, got his name,
Cryos,
KRYOS,
Z instead of an S.
A
R-Y.
YOZ.
Yeah.
Okay, I
He's,
think I've seen that.
he's recently kind of getting more into art, but I used to watch him on YouTube, and so that's why I know who he is, but I know else does.
Well, see, and this is so fascinating to me. And this is the kind of thing that I was hoping we could generate, among a lot of other topics. My granddaughter is 7 years old. And she found on YouTube some YouTube videos on how to draw whatever. And so we get them, like the last one we did was how to draw the cozy cardinal. And they kind of did, yeah. And so we start off like this, we draw this, and then draw a big circle here, and then a circle in there, and then another circle. And then we go up like this and down. You can see where I'm going with this. And then he's got a sweater on and, foo-foo stuff. She loves it. I get a piece of paper and she gets a piece of paper. We follow this and it's kind of cool because we can pause it and she can catch up.
Another favorite is Bob Ross. Right?
Well, I'm putting him down too. I got a Bob Ross t-shirt. Yeah. Says there's no such thing as accidents. David.
A artist that I follow on social media is named King Salmon.
Spelled right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Hey, you guys at home, you guys have any favorite artists you want to talk about?
I don't have a favorite artist, but I have a favorite painting.
Well, good, we can do that. Who is that, Kaylee talking?
Yeah,
Okay,
I like the Birth of Venus.
Botticelli?
Yeah.
Julia, Randis, you guys?
Yeah, I typed it in the chat. My favorite artist is Rocky. He created my favorite anime series called JoJo, and like I really love his art and his art style. Like it influenced me a lot. So
Oh, okay.
And then I was gonna say Georgia O'Keeffe.
Yeah. All right, good, thank you. Georgia O'Keeffe. She was from Wisconsin too. From Sun Prairie, and that's a little town just outside of Madison. And once Georgia O'Keeffe left Wisconsin, she didn't want anything to do with it. And so they were starting a museum when I was up there in graduate school, and they asked her for a painting. She was still alive then. She said, "No, I'm not giving you a painting." So anyway. But I still like her work, so I don't read anything into that. So do the rest of you guys like hate art or something? Oh, that's a bad sign. Isn't gonna be a long semester. Well, this is good. We gleaned a pretty good sampling here of art. So I want to move on then. And I want to talk about this aspect. I'm going to get back to the pick a favorite when we come back on Wednesday. Because some of these folks I don't know about too, but I got a big point I want to make about all of this stuff. But at any rate, I picked this one. Leonardo da Vinci, Mona Lisa, early 16th century, 30 inches by 21 inches. Kind of small. You guys heard of this? Yeah. If you didn't, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Bottom line though, here's what I want to say about Da Vinci's Mona Lisa. It has been on the list of many art connoisseurs and scholars to be the representative piece, the best work of Western art, bar none. This is it. This is the apex. This is the best, number one, the GOAT, greatest of all time painting. Now you can argue with that. In fact, you could make some good arguments that it's not. However, it's been seen that way by a lot of people for a really long time. And so that's kind of what I like about it, is that, I'm not a Tom Brady fan, but I do have respect for like 7 Super Bowl wins. That's like, wait till my guy Patrick Mahomes gets that old. But I'm telling you, there's something about that being the greatest of all time. And so that's kind of what I like about it. And here are some things that you would talk about. And I still want to make sure I got the slide share. Yeah, we'll get it. And so, how you would classify it, I could give you all of the Leonardo da Vinci, Mona Lisa, 1502, Italy, oil, whatever. That's all good. But there are some other reasons why this was considered to be the greatest. The first thing is that this was done at a time when science and art were kind of very closely connected together. And we know, if you know about Da Vinci, you know that he was an inventor. They had a show of his stuff at the Science Center a few years ago. It was really good. But he was an inventor, he was a scientist, he was an artist, all kinds of stuff. He was what they called a Renaissance man because he could do a little bit of everything, in fact, do everything well. And so in 1500, in Italy, almost all of the artists, and including Botticelli, which we got one on the list, The Birth of Venus, one of the major objectives, one of the major goals of art at that time was to make art so naturalistic and realistic that you would forget that this was a painting. The painting was impeccable. The surface had no texture, it was completely flat. And if you follow this, and when this was new, before it all turned yellow, it had cracks on the surface, you could almost believe that if you put that on the wall, that there was this woman sitting behind that square hole in the wall, looking right back at you. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to make realistic art. And they did a pretty good job of it. I mean, it took them about 100 years or so to kind of figure out everything. But for me, like how the shadows are on the hands. I'm a painter, by the way. The shadows on the hands. This is like so delicate. And in a lot of ways, pretty lifelike. And you could disagree with me, but I think that her skin on her face or hands looks like real flesh. And that's a hard thing to do when you're painting portraits because it's very easy to make a portrait that looks like it's made of a hard surface, that it looks plastic, that it looks like it's made out of marble, that it looks like a mannequin rather than a human being. And the reason that is that skin reflects light in a way that almost no other surface reflects light. You can tell. If you got, and that really kind of comes out a lot of times when people wear too much makeup and they kind of look a little plastic, you know, but skin, doesn't matter what color your skin is, it absorbs light and it reflects light all at the same time. And that's a hard thing to simulate with paint. And he did that. And they always talk about this when you read about Da Vinci. He'd have shadows, he'd have coarse shadows, he'd have highlights. You can almost see the structure of the bones and the knuckles underneath her skin, but it's still soft, very delicate. And the way the light hits it, it seems believable. Like I said, there's not much that reflects and absorbs light the same way. One substance that does, can you give or think of anything else that does that in your wildest dreams? The stretch of the imagination. Wax. And if you are kind of been to New York or Paris and have seen Madame Tussauds wax museum, the reason they use wax to make their sculptures of famous people, is because wax does a similar kind of thing in the way that it absorbs and reflects light. So you don't get really the hard shadows you would get from inanimate surfaces. And so anyway, wax museum. And so that's kind of what I like about it. And we would put this in the field of painting. But one of the things that I like about Mona Lisa is this too, is that because it was and still in some circles is considered to be the greatest of all time, it's become a meme as well. And so anyway, these are some of the kinds of things that I was talking about, mostly about color and space. This is another thing about Da Vinci. I could go on for a couple of years about this painting, but that whole landscape behind there, that doesn't exist anywhere. It's invented. And that was another thing that they came to realize, that they didn't need to look at a landscape. They could invent a landscape if they figured out rules of linear perspective and atmospheric perspective, and they had a kind of a knowledge of geology and flora. But I digress. And so here's the thing, my big point. This is what we'll talk about when we come back. How do you evaluate art? And I have these two questions. I'm playing with this because I'm taking a lot of notes. And I might put it together as a published paper, or if I can really get into it, maybe have a book. But this is what I think personally, how one should evaluate art. And first of all, what does it do? Which kind of takes out all of this other stuff. Well, that's just a graphic novel. Well, if it does it well, I'm thinking it's art. If it's good fashion design, inventive fashion design, and it does it well, then it should be. I think there are a lot of things that we really kind of need to think about when we evaluate art, more than how popular, how famous something is. And so that's a theme. We'll talk about that along with your examples. And so recontextualization. That's huge. That's how this turned into a meme. This is a guy, an artist named Botero, and he has all of these paintings of figures that are like hugely obese. And he'll do horses that are really big fat horses. It's really, and this is Mona Lisa with a few extra pounds, you know. And this, I don't know who this is, but you know, if Mona Lisa is the epitome of beauty, which is some people believe that maybe the Mona Lisa is the most beautiful painting, then this woman has her face pasted on it. And people use it for all different kinds of things too. Obama, Chewbacca. It's a meme. It's kind of got its own life. I want to talk about this a little bit. This is something that shows up actually in the museum art history text. Postcard of the Mona Lisa. This guy, sort of a renegade rogue artist, invented Dada. His name is Marcel Duchamp. And he took the Mona Lisa, and this was from like 100 years ago, a little more than 100 years ago. And he kind of realized what was happening, that these iconic artworks were sort of, how should I say, they had a life of their own, and he's making fun of it. So he put a mustache on her and put these letters down here, and his movement, some of you may have heard of this, is ADAH. And so anyway, when you're number one, you become a target. You become a target for all kinds of different things and all kinds of statements about the idea of being the greatest of all time. So that's what I have for today. And so anybody want to put any more, think about anybody else you want to put on the Hall of Fame here? No more nominations?
I was thinking Jackson Pollock with his art style.
I'm talking about the drip paintings. Sure. Well, you guys gave me a lot to think about, a lot to look up. I want to see what you guys like too. That's important to me. But there's a way I think we can ask those two questions. What does it do and how well does it do it? I think that's where I want to start. So if there are no questions, and you don't want to sit around here any more longer than necessary. I don't see a lot of approval for that. So I'll let you go. So see you on Wednesday, read the textbook, and looking forward to this semester. I hope you will. Stop recording.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Good night, everyone.